Hello, hello. It is me again, and today we will be talking about a very sensitive subject, and it's a subject that I'll be completely blunt and honest and say that I tend to be a little bit insensitive about, specifically because I don't know enough about it. So
Mhm.
today's topic is going to be depression.
Mhm.
And the reason why I wanted to speak on this is because we are all living the same life right now. We're in the same world where, we went through the Black Lives Matter movement. We went through, a lot of police brutality. We've gone through COVID. We've gone through a lot of things that might put someone over the edge.
Yeah.
And over the edge is, you might be losing, you might have lost your job, you might have been, out of touch with family and friends for a very long time. I know that me specifically, I've been home since March.
Mhm.
March, literally, we went to a concert on March 9th for my daughter's
Mhm.
birthday, and literally the day after, everything shut down. Literally. So we got even
Yeah.
lucky enough to let her celebrate her birthday, which I'm extremely grateful for.
Mhm.
But I've been home since March, with the exception of going to Orlando in June and literally spent some time with a couple of friends for my dad's birthday, came right back home, and I've been home ever since. Like, this complexion is a little bit of makeup. I'm pale as hell. Like, I have not left my house.
I like that, Franchesca.
I am pale. I am pale as heck.
Uh,
This is makeup. Don't believe the hype.
Right.
So, I understand that there's a lot of folks that are home
Yeah.
probably just in their heads, or specifically if you've lost your job. Like, I'm sorry that
yeah.
you've lost your job. Obviously it's not my fault, but I can understand the pain that you're going through. You're more in your head because you have more free time, and as much as
Yeah.
we look up suggestions, as much as we try to do things that keep us occupied, we're still spending the most times with ourselves and in
Yep.
our heads, and thinking and thinking and thinking. So this was a subject that I really wanted to touch base on. And of course, I've got my amazing, amazing, amazing Clarks with me. So if you guys tuned
Yay.
into
Yeah.
episode one, this is Melanie Clark, my
Yep.
amazing, amazing friend who I love so much. I've learned so
Mwah.
much from her as far as myself. So she's a life coach, she's a relationship coach, she's a law of attraction coach. So she knows her stuff. And of course, she works side by side with her amazing husband, Anthony Clark. Everyone say hi to Anthony. How are you?
Hello, beautiful people.
So I wanted to bring them both on. Episode one, you guys met Melanie, but I definitely wanted to bring Anthony on specifically because I know that sometimes, I guess, men don't like to talk about their feelings. Some men do. I'm not blaming
Yeah.
all of you, but I know that sometimes men just don't like speaking on their feelings, or they're just known to be the tough guys. The man of the
Yeah.
house.
Mhm.
You can't break down. You can't cry. You're some of us are raised, some of you all are raised this way. So I just wanted
Mhm.
to bring someone in that is also strong, that has
Mhm.
also gone through stuff too. So I wanted
Yeah.
to make sure that you guys can relate to a story, not just two women chatting on here, even though I know that we do an amazing job at creating these stories and relating them to you, but I also wanted to bring a male perspective on.
Yes.
During, if you already know me, I'm a story collector. I said that in episode one. I love to collect stories, and the reason why that is because I think that it's more relatable, it's more teachable. If I sit here
Mhm.
and I tell you, well, statistics say that depression, because
Yeah.
it's good to know, because
Mhm.
you're coming from a place of knowing, and a
Mhm.
place of, you're just not just talking from feeling. But I
Mhm.
also like speaking through story because it's relatable. It's almost like you can reach out and be like, oh my God, I went
Yeah.
through the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my God, he
Yeah.
looks like me. Oh my God, I lost my mom too. Like, things like that, I love bringing into play. So when I was researching the subject and just, again, collecting stories, I ran into an interview. His name is Kevin Hines.
Mhm.
And if you guys probably know of him because you all are in California, and he
Mhm.
was the gentleman in, I believe it was in 2000,
Mhm.
that attempted suicide from the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
did attempt suicide, and I'm listening
Mhm.
to his story, and he says that at the age like around 16, 17, 18, he was diagnosed with depression, like clinically
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed. And that's another thing that I want to get into. I don't want you to run to the hospital and think, you know, I got to get diagnosed. But I do want you to be
Mm-hmm.
aware that don't just throw the word around. Don't
Yeah.
just, you know, just because you're feeling down, don't say I am depressed. Like
Yeah.
words are things. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm big on the way you vocalize your feelings. And I like when people vocalize their feelings, but I want them to be accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So at that age, he was clinically diagnosed with depression. And, you know, and it was something that was really, really hard for him. And he said, you know, I've saw many interviews and he pretty much says the same thing in every interview. It was a hard time for him. He didn't know what was wrong with him. He was
Mm-hmm.
just blue. He was down. He just didn't feel like doing much of nothing. And he says that he woke up that day and he just said, I'm going to end it.
Mm-hmm.
He walked onto the Golden Gate Bridge, and as he walked by, he's like, you know, he made a pact with himself. He said, I'm gonna make a pact with myself. If someone stops me and asks me, he said he was like hysterical. He was crying on the bus, like on the way to the bridge. He was a mess, but almost like a cry for help, hoping that someone would stop him. Like he just, what I got from the interviews was he just needed love.
Yes.
He
Mm-hmm.
wanted attention. He needed to feel that he was needed. He needed to feel that he was important.
Right.
He didn't care if he got this from a stranger. So
Mm-hmm.
he's on his way to the bridge. He gets to the bridge and he's literally like pacing. He already walked off over the rail and a lady stops him. He's like, she's gonna stop me. You know, he's excited. He's like, she's gonna stop me. And she goes, can you take my picture, please? So he's over here thinking this woman is about to save my life. And she's
Right.
asking for a photo op. Like, can you just take a beautiful, like a picture of me? And he's just like, okay. So he's there
Fine.
snapping away for 5 minutes. And he's like, you know, F it, you know?
Uh-huh.
Let's make this woman happy. I'm not happy, but let's make her happy. Let's give her a picture. So he's snapping away for about 5 minutes. He's done with the pictures. He jumps. He says that he immediately felt regret the second he jumped.
Mm-hmm.
He jumps into the water. He's literally drowning, but he's trying to save himself because he, like I said, he instantly felt regret. So he's now in the water, drowning,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, my boots are filled with water. I can't keep afloat. And out of nowhere, I start floating.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like he's almost like in shock.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, a sea lion circles him and literally starts keeping him afloat until the police come and get him out.
Love it.
Wow.
And you hear him say the story, and he's like, what if I wouldn't have taken that woman's picture? That animal probably wouldn't have been in the water to keep me
Mm-hmm.
afloat. I probably would
Mm-hmm.
have succeeded and died.
Mm-hmm.
What if, like so many what ifs came up to his mind.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that. Imagine he would have gotten there, and literally the second he got there, he jumped. That, like you
Yeah.
said, the animal might have not been there. What if that
Mm-hmm.
woman wouldn't have had been there to ask for a photo?
Yeah.
All these things go through his mind. And the reason why that story was so impactful for me, obviously, he didn't succeed in killing himself. He didn't succeed in attempting, you know, in the suicide. But it's the instant regret
Mm-hmm.
that caught my eye. It's
Mm-hmm.
the fact that even with all that emotion and with all that negativity that he had going on in his mind, he's still able to move people with his story and
Mm-hmm.
change someone's perspective. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
hear him now, he still says he's like, you know, I'm still chronically suicidal,
Mm-hmm.
but I just know that I can't let my negative thoughts
Mm-hmm.
pretty much take over my destiny. I know that I'm here for something.
Yeah.
And you know, and it was almost by accident that he started speaking to children and just saying his story. Like he's got
Mm-hmm.
a website now, he's speaking worldwide. Like it's impactful how people can take something that can be so negative and take it into something positive.
Yeah.
So you know, I say that to say, again, this is the insensitive in me, and you guys can fix it for me. It's not that serious.
Yeah.
It's really not that serious. Whatever it is that someone might be going through, whatever it is that you might be going through, it's not bigger than your life.
Yeah.
It's not bigger than your life. just a few weeks ago, I wasn't doing these videos. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
God put this in my heart to speak to someone out there that is probably attempting suicide. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But depression shouldn't take over. It just shouldn't take over.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I wanted to bring you all on, because obviously, like I said, I like speaking facts because it's a thing that's real, but I like
Mm-hmm.
speaking on story as well. Have you guys
Yeah.
ever dealt with clients, because you are life coaches? Have you
Yeah.
spoken to clients? Have you had to quote unquote talk them off of the ledge at any point?
You know, whenever I have had clients personally that have said, I feel suicidal. And as a life coach, honestly, I don't feel like that's my lane. I don't want to take on that responsibility. So as soon as I hear that, then I recommend, like, you need to get some clinical help. You need to go see a psychiatrist. You need therapy. As a life coach, I'm here to help people set goals, help them change their perspective so they could be happy. And I'm happy to do that. But I don't want to take on the responsibility of what's going on in someone's inner world where they feel like I want to end it all, right? Because I know my lane. I'm here to inspire and to lift people up. And there was so much in what you said. So I've been depressed. One of the reasons I became a life coach and I've taken the journey that I've taken in my life is I was depressed. I grew up in an abusive situation in my childhood. I never felt loved. I never felt good enough. I struggled with self-worth. And there were things that happened in my childhood that would replay in my mind. And I literally would have times where I couldn't get out of bed. And there were people in my life where that, like, just get over it, just keep going. And I wish that I could, but I couldn't because it was just so painful. And
So
looking
exactly
back on
what does
it,
it feel like? Exactly what does it feel like? Because I want to understand.
it literally feels like nothing matters. It feels like it's hopeless. That's it right there. There's a feeling of hopelessness. Like no matter what I do, this is not going to change. This is what it is. And I feel like I'm hurting. My insides are hurting. And the pain from my insides hurting is so overwhelming that I can't move, but I can't live like this either. I can't stay here. It just is not, I can't do
Yeah.
this for an extended amount of time.
Yeah, it's sort of like a feeling of suffocating,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not suffocating, but you are,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't escape it. And you know, I've also dealt with depression, and keep in mind that depression and feeling suicidal, not everybody that gets depressed is going to feel suicidal.
True.
Um, and the first time I realized that I was depressed was growing up in Brooklyn, and I was in an environment where I didn't feel loved, I didn't feel appreciated. There was chaos and danger around me. Every day I would literally wake up and wonder, is today the day I'm gonna die? Or is today the day I'm gonna kill somebody and then end up in prison? Just to survive as a kid in junior high, in high school, every single day. And then it was like, I didn't see a future. Even though I played sports,
That part.
it was like, what is all of this for?
Yep.
And I'm looking around and watching my friends die. I'm watching my friends go to prison. And I know I'm next. And it got to the point where life, you don't care about life anymore. I got to the point where I became a predator. And that was really the thing that kept me going, was the anger.
Mm-hmm.
Because when people are depressed, they're in hopelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the lowest vibration that you can get. The lowest you can be vibrationally is hopelessness.
Yeah.
And anger is the step above hopelessness. So I contemplated suicide a couple of times growing up. I tried it a couple of times. One time I tried to literally freeze myself in the snow. I had a balcony and it was full of snow and I was just done. And when I waited until all my family went to sleep and I was in my underwear, I took a shower and I went outside, closed the door and laid down in the snow and the snow covered me. I was there for about 20 minutes and it was painful. but I didn't care. And I felt myself slipping away, but then something was like, a little voice in my head said, no, not yet. Not yet.
Mhm.
And I went back inside. I never told my mother, I didn't tell anybody. And I tried it a couple of times, different ways. But then what saved me with that was that I played sports. And I was an incredibly, really, really good athlete. And I ended up getting a scholarship and coming to California. And I remember that I was on a plane coming to California, and it was just blowing my mind that I'm still alive. I made it. I got another chance at life. And I was on a plane, and I remember thinking, wait a minute, the plane's gonna crash. Yeah, okay, the plane's gonna crash. Ah, damn, what a way to go out. Okay, all right, I'm ready for the plane to crash. And it didn't crash. And it landed in California. And I had a whole new beginning of life. And so it was the hopelessness. And so I actually went through depression about 3 times. And like you said earlier, men, for the most part, we're conditioned and programmed to not be in touch with our emotions, to not communicate what we're going through. And I blame that on those clinics, growing up on Clint Eastwood movies and Charles Bronson movies and all of that stuff where you're just supposed to be tough.
Yeah.
And you don't cry, you don't communicate, you don't express the emotions except anger and revenge. And so that programmed me. But by doing that, from my perspective, depression, like everything else, is always EIP. Everything is perfect. There are no accidents, there are no mistakes. This thing that's unfolding, that's in front of me, is in front of me for my greater good. It's there to teach me something, there to help me stretch and expand, to help me grow. But if I'm not in touch with my emotions and my inner world, it's going to be really hard to do that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think so many men suffer from depression, because they don't know they don't have the tools to pull themselves back out once they hit that low point.
And just like your example of the guy, excuse me, that committed suicide, what I've found, or tried to commit suicide, what I've found is when people go through depression, and that's what happened to me, a lot of times they're going through depression because they need to make a huge change in their life. They have like a perspective on life that is not serving them, is not working for them. And they've just like focused on it until it dug them lower and lower and lower. And then they hit like rock bottom until they go, like Anthony said, they get angry and they're like, God damn it, I'm not doing this anymore. And then they start to move themselves back up the emotional scale. Then they can talk themselves out of it. I'm just irritated. I'm just frustrated. Things are not working out for me and I want them to. And then now they have some energy where they could have movement. But when they're at the bottom and they're in hopelessness and despair, they don't have the energy to do that. So as life coaches, what we do when we get people who are in that low energy, because people do come to us depressed. Like, I can't tell you how many clients have come and said, I can't stop crying. And I always call that a spiritual awakening. To me, it's a spiritual awakening. You are crying and you are not able to stop because you are at a point in your life where you are tired of the bullshit. You are tired of the fakeness. You are tired of just chasing money and buying stuff. Like, we need more as human beings. We need connection. We need spirit. So what happens to a lot of people is they go low in vibration, and it's depression, but it's really a catharsis. Their system is breaking down so that they could rebuild themselves. But they have to hit a low before they recognize something's up and I need to deal with it. Also, people have traumas that they've buried from childhood. They didn't know were there. And then they come back up and they start to feel it. We have a word we hear all the time now, triggered, right? People are triggered. That's what triggered is. I had a trauma and somebody said or did something that reminded me of it. And so there's so many variables to this. It's not one thing. And you're right, not all depressed people are suicidal. And honestly, not all suicidal people seem depressed. Think about Anthony Bourdain. Mm-hmm. Nobody could tell Anthony Bourdain was going to kill himself, or Kate Spade. They looked like they were living their best lives, right? But they were suicidal. So another component that I've seen in people is lack of purpose. Like, so think about this. Human beings they have to have something to drive them forward. That's just how we are, right? Like we get up to do stuff. We get up, we have dreams, we have goals. And I find that a lot of times when people reach their goals and their dreams, they get depressed because they don't have anything to chase anymore. And sometimes they're disappointed. They're like, I'm here and I thought this was going to make me happy and it didn't make me happy. Oh my God, there's no happiness. They just come to that conclusion and they give up and they get depressed. And I think sometimes people get suicidal because of that, because they don't know what to do with themselves once they accomplish everything they set out to accomplish.
And that's why I was saying with the catharsis that in EIP, that even though it seems like a horrible thing, like I said, I've gone through it 3 times in life. Each time it's been a wonderful thing for me. And I would not want to change it at all.
Me too.
Because it stretched me. So that first experience, that experience in New York, there was a part of it that made me work harder as an athlete and as a student, because there was a glimmer of hope. Because it's like going into a tunnel and that door closes behind you. And it's a big, heavy steel door. Now you're locked in that tunnel and it's pitch black. There's no light at the end of your tunnel. So what do people do when there's no light? You freak out. You panic and you just give up and sit down and cry and give up. Where are you going to go? Why are you going to go? What sense? It doesn't make any sense to go anywhere.
No direction.
No direction. So that's where I was at. But the sports gave me a glimmer of light at the end of my tunnel, just a spark of light. It didn't light the whole tunnel. There was just a spark further down.
That's all you needed.
Yeah, and that's all I needed. It was like maybe each day, until one day I got there. So that catharsis, when it broke down, if the system takes on a lot of pressure and then it breaks down so that it can rebuild itself back up stronger and better. But not everybody knows how to bounce back once the system breaks down.
Yes.
And sometimes it takes a while before you figure it out. And sometimes you have to get coaching. Sometimes you have to communicate and talk to people. Sometimes you just have to cry. Sometimes you have to pray.
Sometimes you need medication.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes you need medication. Like there's so many variables and people tend to be so judgmental of themselves when they're going through it that they won't even allow themselves to get help. So when like I said, when I had a suicidal client, I said, I'm going to help you. But I'm going to help you work on your energy and bringing your energy back up. But if you feel this way, you should also go see a clinical therapist and maybe you need medication. I can't diagnose that.
Yeah.
That's brain chemistry. So you need to check that too. Like I'll work with people, but they have to do that too. I don't want to be completely responsible for it. So there's so many variables.
And then the second time I went through depression was after my first marriage ended. And in that first marriage, I married my college girlfriend, who I did not get along with. And we broke up, kept getting back together, having sex. And one day she came back and said, hey, I'm pregnant. And I'm pregnant with twin boys, and they're yours. And at the time, I had an opportunity to play pro baseball in Peru and pro basketball in Peru and pro baseball with the Brewers, double A baseball. And when she got pregnant, I was honest with it. I was like, hey, we weren't together. I was seeing other people. I was doing my thing. What about you? She was like, no. They're yours. So I did what I thought was the right thing. And I married her, even though we didn't get along. And I had to give up I had to call my agent to say, I can't go to camp right now. I got to deal with this. And so I married her. We had twin boys. They were named after me. And after about 4 years in the marriage, things just got incredibly worse and we broke up. And to make a long story short, it turned out that the twins weren't mine. Yeah.
Stop it.
Yes.
So there's 2 boys walking around, Anthony and Anthony. You said they were named after you. Anthony and Anthony, they're walking around.
Yeah, Anthony and Andrew. Anthony Andrew Clark. So here I am at 23, maybe 22, 23. Lost my professional career in sports that I worked for all my life. My college career is over. Divorced, twin boys gone. rock bottom, suicidal. Life has no meaning. Why keep going on? What is there? So that's that hopelessness again. No light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe I should kill myself. Really thought about it. But then there was this voice inside my head that was saying, you knew she wasn't the one. And the one for you was still out there. She's still out there. You could feel it the whole time. And that's what made me step my game up and go, you know what? I want to live. I got to live. And not only do I have to live, I got to live my best life possible, because this woman that I'm going to meet is going to be amazing. And we're going to do amazing things together. So let me stop feeling sorry for myself, put on my big boy pants, and handle business. And that's what I did, right at the end of the tunnel again. And so
that's huge what you just said. You stopped feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
I think misery really does like company, and it's not just from one person gossiping to the next and keeping that around. No, misery starts with you.
Yeah, and you know,
starts with you.
Yeah, and it was not even more so than feeling sorry for myself. It was more so about having gratitude and appreciation for what I did have. Because it was like, yes, you did lose the boys, and yes, you are hurt, but you got a second chance at life. And you're not stuck in an unhappy marriage with a woman that you definitely don't like.
Right.
You have a new opportunity. Just enjoy your life. I'm grateful I'm alive. I'm grateful I'm healthy. I'm grateful I didn't have 5 kids that I lost. You know, so you can always find something to be grateful for. Now, the last time that it happened, I was working in law enforcement, and I was involved in a shooting, and I had to take a life as part of to save a life. And when it happened, I was really, at first, really resentful, because I felt like it could have been avoided. But administration, they kind of did their thing, and I felt like I was put in a bad position. The other thing was, all of my life, like most people, we've been taught that there's certain lines that you don't cross. And killing someone is one of those lines, taking a life, I should say. And when that's the foundation of your reality, one of the biggest pillars in your reality, but then you're in a position where it's your job, it's your career, it's your responsibility, that if you don't do this and this other person gets killed, it's on me. I'm in trouble. I'm going to get charges pressed against me. I have a responsibility. And so they give you a green light to do that, because it's okay now in this situation. And once it happens, it's like you cross the line. And once that line is blurred, all the lines in life are blurred. Because it's like, what does life mean? If I can do that, what does it mean? It's okay now, and I'm getting a couple of weeks off, and I'm not, wait, what? Mind blowing. It's like my reality was pulled, the rug was pulled from beneath me. And I was angry. I was a little suicidal. I was very violent. I drank a lot, couldn't sleep, just paranoia, you name it.
Wow.
I didn't know who I was anymore. Who was Anthony? Anthony was a concept that was created. And I went to get help, and I went to therapy. And the therapist did not help me at all. I went to 2 therapists. And the therapist basically was so intrigued and felt I was such an interesting, amazing person that they were just like a fan. And I would come, and the therapist would be like, "Hi, Anthony, you're amazing. And tell me the other thing." And just, it was like, why am I doing this? You're not helping me.
Yeah.
It's like, let me get a second therapist. Went to another therapist, and the same thing. And I think that's because I just have a very interesting mind. And the therapist just tapped into that and was like, wow. But it didn't help me.
It was probably your voice.
You know, whatever.
Voiceovers.
And he's
got that.
And he's hot.
No,
He's hot, and he had a female therapist.
no, thank you. You guys are making me blush. I definitely can't be depressed with you guys around. I got game. So I realized that I wasn't going to be able to, they weren't going to be able to heal me.
Yeah.
I realized I had to heal thyself. So at that point, what I compared it to was like, imagine you have a pantry and everything that's in that pantry has been in there for years, all over your life. The salt has been here, the pepper's right there, a bag of flour is right there, all of that stuff's been there. Then one day there's an earthquake and it knocks everything in the pantry onto the floor. It's a big mess. That's what the incident did. That was post-traumatic stress. My reality just got knocked over. Everything that I was and existed and who I was, my identity, was on the floor, all fell apart. The healing came from the realization that the pantry being knocked over was not a bad thing, because there was a lot of crap in that pantry that I didn't like anyway. And a lot of stuff in that pantry that I put in there was shit that other people expected me to put in there and what society expected me to be. And my mother and my teachers and my whoever else. And it might have worked for me in the beginning of my life, but at this stage of my life, it was like, these things are no longer serving me. I'm tired of that. I don't want to be Anthony, the peace officer. I don't want to be, I'm going to redesign my life to be who I want to be and create a life that I love, create a pantry that I love. So I started putting stuff back in that pantry from off the floor. And as I started picking stuff up, I'm looking at it going, what is this? Ooh, I don't need this crap. What is this? Huh, this is empty or half empty. I don't need that. This is old. What is this? Oh, I still like that. I'm gonna go get something new, put that. So I rearranged my entire pantry and I created a pantry that I absolutely loved, that I would never be ashamed of, that I wore with pride, and that I couldn't wait to share with the world. It was a fit for me. Mm-hmm. That's what healed me.
And it goes back to what Melanie was saying, where she said that it's a spiritual awakening. Mm-hmm. You need to go through that so that you can rearrange your pantry.
Yes.
Put the good stuff in, the stuff that was expired that you didn't see because they were in the back of the shelf.
Yeah.
If it didn't fall over, you wasn't going to find it.
Yes.
You got it.
100%. And a lot of people go through that, but they just don't have the tools to get themselves out of it.
Or the resources.
Or the resources. Mm-hmm. Exactly. 100%. And when we work with people who are depressed, we just move them up what's called the emotional scale. The next jump from depression is anger. We get people pissed off. Let's get you pissed off. Let's get revenge on someone. Okay, we're not going to keep them there, right? But we just want them to, like, whatever they think the source of their pain is, we want them to get mad at it. And so we push them and pick at them until they get mad at it. And then when they're nice and mad, we're like, okay, next frequency. All right, let's move you up. Maybe you're angry. Now let's get revenge. What if we had this girl we were coaching and she was like really sad over a divorce and she couldn't get out of bed. And she was a friend of my niece. And so I was talking to her and she was just so sad over this guy. And I was like, girl, why are you letting him do that to you? And blah, blah, blah. How dare him? And she was like, yeah, he's a jerk and screw him and da, 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 da. And then I was like, okay, she's mad. All right, let me take her to revenge. Then I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get Anthony and we're gonna come over there and Anthony's gonna hold him and you're gonna whoop his ass. And she started laughing. And then I said, honey, you know we're not really gonna do that.
But she didn't tell me that, so I really went over there and whipped his ass. And I didn't know. She did not tell me.
That was the Brooklyn in you.
There you go.
Right? But do you see the process?
Yeah.
It's like people have to incrementally climb out. It's like you're in a hole and you got to create some light at the end of the tunnel for yourself, like Anthony said. And then you got to start climbing out and you got to use energy to do it. If you're so low, you can't move, get yourself pissed off. Get yourself pissed off. And your goal is to move yourself from depression and sadness and hopelessness to anger, to revenge. And then you want to go to frustration. I'm just frustrated. I'm not getting what I want out of life and things are not working out for me. And then you want to jump to hope. You know, this is not going to last forever. I hope it gets better. I hope I figure it out. I hope something comes along to change the game for me. Like someone asked me to take a picture or a whale or a freaking sea lion that helps me float. Mm-hmm. Like, how beautiful is spirit, how spirit shows up when people most need spirit to show up. And so when people understand this is just energy and how much energy you're allowing into your body, which is coming from your thoughts and the stories that you're telling. If you tell a negative story long enough, your body's going to create emotions to match that negative story. And you're just getting a constant drip of that emotion, and it feels really real. So it's just learning to redirect the thoughts, change the stories, tell a better story. And people want to be married to those stories. No, it's the truth.
Yeah.
Well, that truth is messing you up. So you need to tell another story. Let's make some shit up. I'm okay with making stuff up. We can do that.
One of the phrases that I hate the most is just let her be. She's like that. Or let him be like, he's just like that. No.
Yeah. No. Everyone can
allowing
change.
him to be that way. Like, I've had people in my life, like, it just irks me to hear that. It irks me to hear that, because no, you're not just like that. You're choosing to be like that. And here's what's crazy. The fact that you're saying that you're just like that, you are aware that you are like that.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy. So you're aware that, quote unquote, let's say for instance, you're a prick. So let's just say that. So you're aware that you're a prick.
Yeah.
You're choosing to just be that way because it's easy for you.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable for you to not be a prick.
Yeah. But I'll tell you this, Franchesca, there used to be, like, in science and in medicine, there was a belief that our genes dictated our behavior and that we had no power, that everything was hereditary. And so people just took on that belief system. That's why you hear those things like, we're just like that, and it's passed down from person to person.
We're hardwired.
We're hardwired, but that's not true.
To some degree we are, but not completely.
But not completely.
Sure.
I'm
not taking away from the fact that, you do have some characteristics that are hereditary.
Yes.
But that doesn't give you an excuse to keep it.
Right.
But,
and with depression, a lot of times what's happening, and that's kind of what happened with me, we create an identity which is synthetic. It's a facade. It's a mask that we wear. And the more we wear that mask, the more it pulls us away from our spirit. And once we start to get too disconnected from our spirit, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So depression is your spirit letting you know that basically you're saying, I'm tired of this facade.
Yes.
It's not working for me anymore. I'm tired of being this person and doing it, living this life. So a lot of people, they'll go to sleep. They'll sleep a lot. Because when they're sleeping,
they let go of resistance and they reconnect with spirit.
Right. So that's one of the reasons why they want to stay in bed. Or when they drink. Or they drink a lot, because when you drink, even though, like, they'll say like over drinking is bad, or people like addicted to gambling or food, those are bad. But what's happening is that when you don't have a spiritual connection, you do things like drinking or shopping, because when you're doing those things, you let go of resistance in those moments. And when you let go of resistance and you're in the moment, you automatically connect to spirit. Some people use sex, because when you have sex, for that moment, while you're having sex, you disconnect. You let go. Good. And you're in the moment.
Yeah.
And when you're in the moment, you connect to spirit automatically. And that's why it feels so good.
Yep.
But the problem is, doing it the other way, those ways, you can't stay there. So then you got to have sex again. You got to have another drink, or you got to shop some more. You got to keep going back instead of going directly to spirit. But no spiritual connection. If you can't go directly to spirit, then doing it the other way, in a way, is better than nothing at all. Because there's nothing worse than not having any spiritual connection. So depression is your spirit is letting you know to let go of that facade and come back to spirit. And that's what I did with the pantry. It was like, I don't want to be this anymore. But something really interesting happened with that as well. All of my life, like I said, up in New York, When I started off in New York, I was a sweet kid, very connected to spirit. But as I got hit the streets, it was like, I can't be that guy and survive on the streets. So let me get away from the spirit and go to more of the predator. Let me be like everybody else. And I created this thing I call the beast. And the beast allowed me to be a predator. The beast allowed me to cut off my emotions and not care about other people and cut off my empathy so that I could survive, so that I could keep going. Survival. And it was great because it helped me to get through it. But then at a certain point in my life, when I came to California, it was like, beast, you're being too off the hook. I got to put you in the closet right now because you're going to get me in trouble. So I locked him in the closet. But by locking him in there and denying he was in there, he grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And then when it was time for me to handle business with the shooting, in order to do it, I had to let him out the closet. But when I opened the chains up and let him out, he was huge. He was huge. And when after he did what he did, he grew even 10 times bigger, because that was the ultimate taboo, line crossing. At that point, it was like, okay, go back in the closet. And he was like, screw you. Just took off running. And it was like, whoa, I gotta go get him now. Because this beast, and I gotta tame him, put him back in the closet. I gotta destroy him. So my attempt at recovery was really about me trying to control that beast and destroy him. But then I realized something. The key isn't to destroy him. The key is to love and accept him.
To love him. Yeah.
And the key is to be grateful that I had him and he helped me to get through the hard times, but to let him know that I'm running the show and that he works for me. And I may still need him every now and then, and I'll let him know when I need him, and I won't put him back in the closet. I'm gonna live in harmony with him, and together we'll be a team, but I'll run the show.
Yeah. And it goes hand in hand with the other part that you were saying about creating a facade. When you create a facade, it gets to a point where it's almost like hard to upkeep.
Yeah.
So it's almost like creating this persona of keeping up with the Joneses. Let's use that as an example, because that's, I guess that's the cliche that we hear all the time. Imagine creating a fake life or creating a fake situation. You know the archive of lies you've got to be able to keep.
Oh yeah.
The ledger of lies, and you really can't bump into another. Like, you can't fake the lie that's already a lie, but you got to make sure that you said the lie exactly the way you said it the first time, because people, we're like dogs. We sniff the shit. Like, it's true. When you're lying. So you've got to make sure that that lie is damn near perfect to where you start to believe it. Now you're believing this lie, this fake life that you've created in your brain. Getting out of it, like you said, is taking that big ass monster out the closet that's bigger than you could have probably even imagined, because by the time you wake up, the lie is there. It's still there until you admit it.
And you know one of the things that made the beast so big and strong, things like not crying, not getting in touch with their emotions, not communicating. The beast was all about anger, revenge, survival, pain, the streets. And so Charles Bronson and Clint Eastwood, they're partially responsible for that beast.
They showed little boys how to do it. This is how you do it. You know, on this same subject, Jim Carrey talks a lot about depression, and he has a great, I love him too. And he has a great take on it. He says depression is wanting deep rest. Wanting deep rest because you're tired of the facade. You can't carry it anymore. You just can't do it. You can't keep going. So your body just makes you exhausted. And your body really needs, your body, your mind, and your spirit just needs deep rest. Why? That's why you're depressed. So what happens is that's why people get in the bed and they can't move, because they feel hopeless, because they can't carry that facade anymore. They can't pretend to be happy. Like, I think that's what happened with Anthony Bourdain, right? Like he is living what everybody thought was the dream. You're traveling all over the world, you're meeting amazing people, you're eating delicious food, you're doing a television show, you're famous. Like, everybody thinks they want that. They want to be rich and famous and have all these experiences. But he was having that, but he was alone, and he was lonely, and he didn't have connections. And I think he just got tired. He just got tired of carrying it. Like, I'm going to have to keep doing this another how many years? I can't do it anymore. And so he gave up. And I think that that's what happens to a lot of people. Like, they just cannot keep carrying what they're dealing with. And if they don't have the opportunity to be depressed and take deep rest, then they feel like, I just want to end it because I just don't want to feel like this anymore. So I really liked that take on it.
Yeah. And you know what I also think? I think that it also has to do with people caring too much about what other people think. Because
100.
Anthony Bourdain might have been tired, but he probably cared more about what was going to be said of him if he quit the show.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle quit his show. Like, he had a special and he quit, and he didn't care, and he came right back and he's just as big. Because you can't care. The second you start caring about quitting, which is why people are in horrible relationships, because they're afraid that picket fence is going to go down and people are going to talk about them. But what happened? I looked up to you, and I'm guilty of this myself. I've seen people get divorced, and I'm like, I'm heartbroken. Like, I need an answer. Like, you got to tell me what happened, because you guys were happy. You weren't supposed to break up. What the fuck happened?
Yeah.
And it's fear of not wanting that feedback, but people have to understand you're living your life.
Yeah.
You're not.
But you know what's crazy?
Someone else.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy about that? It's literally our vulnerability when we go through stuff and things don't work out and we're able to openly share it, that bonds us together and makes us connected to each other. And that's what everyone is avoiding. Everyone is avoiding being vulnerable because they're so worried about being judged. But because there's no vulnerability, people don't feel connected, which makes them feel depressed. It's like a feedback loop, right? Just say it.
And they've created this fake circle that they know that they can't lean on. So they're like, okay, so I don't have the resources. I don't have someone else that I can talk to. This fake circle that I created that's around me, if I go to them, they're only going to bash me.
They're going to judge me.
If you go to someone for help, to vent, if you like the gentleman that attempted suicide, he said, I just wanted, like, and he speaks about his recovery now. And he says that he's learned that when he's not okay, he doesn't care if he's walking to the supermarket and he doesn't feel well, he will stop a stranger and say, I need help. That's the problem with people, that they create the circle around them that they don't know where to go. It doesn't matter where you go. Go somewhere. Go to it. Like he says, like, I'll stop a stranger if I don't feel well, and I said I need help. He'll call his wife. Like, him and his wife have become inseparable. They've become speakers around the world in regards to the subject. But it brought them together. You hear them speak about it, and she's like, she jokes about it, and she says, his wife, and she says, I've got to keep him on a short leash. And it's not because of, I run him, but she cares that much about him to know that if he, if I leave him alone for 5 minutes and, he probably just went through this emotionally, like, she knows what can happen in his mind. So it's not just knowing where to go for help, it's also keeping people around you that can pick up on the, the symptoms. Because I'm the type of person, like, again, I'm invasive. Like we
love it.
Before.
I love that.
Even if I'm wrong, if I sense that you're a little off, I'm gonna ask you. And some people don't have that, and some people are praying for that. So even if I'm wrong, I'd rather be safe than sorry, and I'd rather you tell me, like, girl, you always think something's wrong with me. Like, what's wrong with you? I'd rather get that snap back than a week down the line I sat with myself, and God forbid you cause harm to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna go crazy over it, but I'm gonna take some kind of blame for it because I said, damn, I probably could have helped. Just if
Mm-hmm.
I would have called and I would have reached out, or maybe if I would have
Mm-hmm.
intervened, like I'm just big on that. I
Yeah.
guess I'm nosy. Again, I'm invasive. I don't care. Unless
Yeah.
you like block me, I'm gonna continue to be that person. And you know,
Good for
because
you.
it's just the kind of person that I am. I can't be in a circle where we're all bubbly or we're all having a quote unquote good time. And I know that there's one person that isn't. We
Mm-hmm.
need to be on the same level.
Yeah.
And you
Of
need to
course.
gravitate towards this good energy, or you
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm not going to tell you go with your negativity. And don't get me wrong, I get frustrated sometimes, and I do
Mm-hmm.
want to say that, and that's I've been pretty vocal. I tend to be insensitive, but the
Mm-hmm.
big heart in me always rules you back in.
Right. But you know, your perspective on being insensitive is, I would look at it like it's really hard to understand something if you haven't experienced it.
Yeah.
I have a lot of clients with anxiety, and I hadn't experienced anxiety until in the last 6 years, we lost 2 nephews, and it created some anxiety and some depression. And once I experienced it, when I was dealing with clients, I could deal with them totally differently because I get it. I understand it. So I wouldn't say that it's not that you're not insensitive. You just don't really understand because you haven't had that experience. It's like Black Lives Matter, right? Like when Black people are trying to explain things to white people, and they're like, no, that's not what's going on. Like, no, there's no racism. And it's like, how could you know? You have never walked around in Black skin. And until you do, I can't describe it to you. Can you describe to someone what it feels like to be Black and then have someone treat you to be racist towards you? You can't really describe that. You could say it's hurtful, I don't like it. You can say what they did and what you did, but you can't really understand it until you've experienced it. And Franchesca, I hope you never experience it, but I think that you do have a very loving spirit, and your invasiveness is caring. And that's helpful to people who are struggling with depression and people who are suicidal. People need love. And so if you don't, even if you don't understand, my go-to is just go to love. If I don't understand something, I'm just going to love you. How about I just love you? Okay, we'll just start there.
You know, and for people that are going through depression, I think that the quickest way out of it, and actually the real cure for it, is to create a connection with spirit. And
Sorry.
it's okay. I like it.
I know.
And when people are depressed, it's like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. They can't find that happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, you'll find that they've been searching for that happiness outside of them.
Mm-hmm.
They thought that car was going to get them that happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's happy for a second, but then they're back to where they were. Or maybe I need that big house. They get the big house. Hey, it's great for a moment, but then I'm right back. Maybe I need that relationship. They get that relationship, and they're right back. No matter what they get when trying to find happiness out there, they get temporary happiness, but it's not permanent. And they're right back, which frustrates them even more, because each time they try it, it's like, I'm losing more and more hope. Now, the key is to realize that everything in the external world is impermanent. It's impermanent. It's going to break down, fall apart. If it's a person, they're going to act the way that you don't like.
It's going to age.
They're going to age or die. So if you invest your happiness in those things externally, first and foremost, you're always going to come back to unhappiness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only thing in this world that's permanent is energy. Energy never dies. It just goes into form and out of form, can never be destroyed. So that energy is inside of us. It's our spirit.
Yes.
Energy is eternal. Spirit's eternal.
We're
When you find that your happiness, first and foremost, from that connection inside, it'll never let you down. It'll never go away. It'll never change. It's permanent. And you'll feel that sense of, I'm good. Now, at that point, you may still want those things outside of you in the external world, but you don't need those things outside of you. They're just icing on the cake. And so I would recommend that anybody that's dealing with that, or knows someone that's dealing with it, go within. And I always say, if you don't go within, you will go without.
Yeah.
Go within.
Yeah.
Good one. And what would you say? Because I tend to be, I feel like I've gone through certain situations where it could have been easy for me to fall into a depression, but I just refuse to. Like, I'm just like, it's not that serious. Like, that's how I talk to myself, which is why I think it's okay for me to talk to everyone else that way. I expect everyone to have the same, tough skin that I tend to have at times. And I'm not always tough. Not always tough. I've used you guys numerous times for coaching. Like, there's situations that are out of my hands, that are out of my experience and out of my realm. So I need to go to that other source. And for anyone that's listening, Melanie and Anthony are coaches. They are life coaches. They are therapy coaches. Life coaches, relationship coaches.
Yes.
They work. Trust me. I would have never learned so much about myself had it not been for them. And at the time when I did meet them, I didn't think I needed them. I didn't want to need them. It was just something that it was referred, and I'm like, why not? Because why not? And then I went for it, and now I feel like I can't do without it. There's you need to be able to connect with someone and have these kinds of conversations. Experienced guidance is what I always say. It's the experienced guidance. It's not just venting to a homegirl, to a neighbor that's really, really nice. It's got to be someone that speaks from experience and speaks from profession and speaks to a lot of people that can give you different perspectives. And this is why I like you guys as a team, because I'm not just speaking to Melanie. And I know that when I am just speaking to Melanie, I'm also speaking to Anthony, because I know you're in the background somewhere and you're yelling, because sometimes I hear you like, tell her, because I've always it's impossible for you not to hear, right? It's like, tell her. It's like, you guys work as a team, and I love that. And people need to be more in tune with that. They need to be more okay with coaching. We need to normalize venting and speaking to people, because there's so many people. Like, just today, I speak to my followers on Instagram all the time. Again, being the invasive person that I am, I like asking questions. So my question was, what was the toughest thing that you've been through, and how did you get out of it? The amount of responses that I received, I couldn't even reply to all of them. And that just goes to show you that there's so many people that are hurting and they don't know what to do. Some people think that they're trucking through and they're actually kind of like better. And I'll give credit where credit is due. You are, every day that you're doing good, you're doing better. But I think that there still needs to be realization. There still needs to be that connection with someone else, someone that isn't biased, someone that doesn't know your situation, or knows your spouse, or knows, just doesn't know where you came from. That's your story to tell. And it's from your perspective, not from theirs.
I agree.
No, I agree.
I think that creating this platform with you guys has been, I'm extremely grateful. And I'm extremely grateful that I'm able to get lucky enough to pick days and times that you guys are available. Because I promise you, these sessions that we've been recording, I create them around your schedule, because I need to make sure that, again, I'm not too in your face, but I need that balance, and you guys balance me. And I love the fact that we're able to help so many people.
Yeah, well, I want to tell you this. I'm grateful for you, because part of our coaching and part of our goal in coaching is to empower people and bring more love. And we've noticed that when we do that, people get filled up, and then they want to turn around and love other people and help other people. And that's what you're doing. And so when we see it play out, I call it spreading the love. Oh, look at her. She's spreading the love. We gave her the love, and then it filled her up, and now she's got excess, and she wants to turn around and she wants to share it with other people. And so to me, that's the most beautiful part of what we do. And you know what's so interesting too, Franchesca, is that What we do is we teach people about themselves, right? We teach people how their brain works, how their energy works, how their thoughts work. We don't buy into the like victim mentality, like it's always somebody else or circumstances outside of me. We want you to understand spirit, your brain, energy, you understand you, because when you can understand you, it's easier to understand other people. And if you think about it, we don't learn about ourselves as human beings. We learn more about business and planning a trip and cars. People literally know more about how a car engine works than they know about their own brain or their energy. And so our goal is to empower people by helping them to understand themselves and why they do what they do. And once you get that, man, the love can flow, because all those stories that bring you down, they don't make sense anymore. They just don't make sense anymore. And you feel more connected with your spirit, like Anthony was talking about, because you get how your spirit works with you in this life. So to me, depression is moving people towards that awakening and wanting that and needing that, because they reach out for help and they learn about themselves.
I agree. And how would you tackle, for instance, because one of the most popular answers that I received today was loss, whether it was loss of a child or loss of a parent. That
I got an answer for you.
Whoa, that was
Yes.
the most. It was like scary. I didn't know that so many people lost someone significant in their lives. And it was either loss or childhood trauma, or both. Maybe the loss was the childhood trauma.
Yeah,
How can we help?
those are very popular things that people come to coaching for. And I'll tell you this, man, I love spirit. In the last, I think I said this earlier, the last 6 years, we lost 2 nephews. And the first one shocked me. He was 29 years old and it was a shock. And I just felt so sad about it, but I'm a spiritual person. So I went to spirit and I realized that when someone leaves their physical body, you can still connect with their energy. And I started practicing doing that. And I was able to do it. I was able to connect with him. And then 4 years later, that nephew was on Anthony's side. 4 years later, my nephew on my side passed away suddenly. And at his 40th birthday party in Vegas with the whole family there to celebrate. Talk about shock and pain and grieving. So I literally have been grieving for the last 6 years. But the difference between my grief and most people's grief is most people believe in grieving that it's the end and it's over. And I won't see or connect with this person ever again until I cross over. I have a different experience. Like Anthony said earlier, we are spirits. We are energy. Energy never dies. It moves into form and out of form. So when someone transitions, they leave their physical body, but their energy and their spirit lives, and they just go to a different frequency. So we can't see them or hear them or connect with them or feel them. And generally, we can't do that because we get sad. So sadness is low energy and they're high energy. They're pure love, joy. They're God source energy. They're back in spirit.
It's a higher frequency.
It's a higher frequency.
Sadness is a low frequency.
Yes. So for people who are grieving, we help them to learn that. And then we help them to do the process of, if you want to connect with this person, there's a few ways that you can do it. Go out in nature. Think happy thoughts of them. If the thoughts make you feel sad, you're not going to connect, because they want to connect to you too. But you have to bring yourself up to where they are, and then you'll connect with them. And the other thing is this perspective. Think about this. This is great for you because you're having a baby. Think about it. When a baby comes, we were talking about earlier what a miracle that is, right? Like, it's a miracle that a baby is being grown inside of your body, and it's a spirit, it's a life, right? And so when the baby comes, we celebrate it with joy. We're so happy because we're welcoming a spirit into this dimension.
And we don't know where it came from.
We don't know where it came from.
We don't know where
And when someone transitions, they do it reverse. They go back to where they came from before they came into the mother's body as a spirit. But we find that to be sad. We don't celebrate that and have joy for it. It's just the journey home. And we kind of know that because we talk about it, but it's still painful to people because we think we're never going to connect again. I can connect to my nephews. I can talk to them. I can connect to them. I can feel them. They come to me in dreams because I've done the work to get myself to a certain frequency when I think about them. And I'm going to tell you this. I was just talking to I think I was talking to my daughter about this. I was saying, can you imagine how difficult it would be for our family if we hadn't taught the entire family about energy and frequency? My whole family knows these concepts. And so when this happened in our families understood what we understood. And so we're still sad. We still struggle. We still feel pain from it, but we can move ourselves in and out of the energy. And we know that those people that we love, our loved ones, their spirits are still very much alive. They're not gone. It's not over. We don't have to let them go. We just have to have a different relationship with them, an energetic relationship, not a physical relationship.
That makes sense. I had went to sorry to cut you off,
No,
but
no,
I
no,
went to a funeral years ago. I was in college, and it was a girl that she always would either call me or text me out of the blue. And I'm a friendly person, but I'm talking about years ago when I wasn't that friendly and I wasn't that much of I wasn't that attached to people, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And she and we had a class together, and we wouldn't speak often, and we left school and all that good stuff, and she would always keep up with me. Like, she would always reach out, and she'd be like, hey, just reaching out to see how you're doing. And I remember one day her husband calling. I remember her going into the hospital. She had some pain, and this was around Christmas time, and I remember I reached out to her, but she didn't reply to me, and I'm like, okay, she's probably just, I didn't think of anything of it. And then what's crazy is, while that was going on, I was attending another funeral of a young friend that got into a really bad car accident around the same time. So it was just a lot. And I guess my mind was so all over the place. I wasn't necessarily keeping up with her story or with her symptoms. And out of nowhere, literally the day I got back from the I think it was the wake, her husband calls and he's like, oh, she didn't make it. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean she didn't make it? Long story short, I think she went into the hospital. I might be butchering the story because I literally blacked out. I couldn't believe that he told me that she had passed away. Because I literally I feel like I just reached out to her not too long ago just to see how she was. And I'm kind of mad she didn't reply now, but obviously she was in a situation where she couldn't. But the fact that she passed away, I'm like, that didn't make any sense to me at all. Like I could not put it into the real world. And long story short, I think she had like a stomach ache. She went in and literally, like, I think her intestines were like dripping on. I don't remember exactly what the story was. I just know that it really hurt my heart because I'm like, so unexpected. But when I did go to her wake, I remember, again, like we explained, when something is so tragic and it's unexpected, you don't it's like so many emotions that when they add up, it's an explosion. When I'm telling you, that place was going crazy, and I was there by myself. I didn't know anyone but her and her husband. That place was going that I was like, I'm not gonna sleep tonight. I've never experienced so much high energy and so much emotion in a room. But there was something that I don't remember what the religion was, so I don't want to call him a father or a priest, but the person that was speaking in front of the room, the one that was delegating, pretty much like taking care of the situation, he's like, he almost said it upset. He was like, I'm going to close the casket because you all should know better. Like, he reprimanded the room. He was like, you all should know better. He was like, we are, like you said, we are a spirit. You guys are going crazy because you're thinking that she's no longer here, but you're not thinking of all the great stuff that came from her. You're not thinking of the good stuff. You have to understand that we are borrowed. Like, we don't belong here. Like, her time is up. And I sat back and I was just like, coming from a Dominican household, we a hell of emotion. Like, like you can't go to a funeral home and if someone's not crying, you look weird. Like it's just who we are. So to hear someone be so blunt about life and death and the way he put that into perspective, it opened my eyes to really understand that, you know, and I don't know if that's what helped build tough skin, because we just recently had someone that I know that passed away, like literally had a pain, went to the chiropractor, didn't come out. Like, how does that happen? Like shit like that, I don't understand. But it's like, of course I'm saddened. He was young. It was something that shouldn't have happened, but it happened. And I don't mean to sound blunt, but it's like my heart hurts more for his wife that now doesn't have a husband, and for his daughters that no longer have a dad. Like that's what I hurt for. Like it's like, because I don't like to see other people in pain.
Yeah.
But I think that that perspective that you just spoke about and that I heard at that funeral, at that wake, it helps me be, when the time is right, when I am able to probably have a conversation, because she might not be welcome to it, I might be able to teach her.
Yeah.
So just be like, you know, and I say, I've said this to everyone who I send condolences to. If you ever lost someone, if I've ever messaged you or spoken to you or texted you, I say the same thing. Cry.
Yes.
People say stay strong. No, I'm not gonna tell you to stay strong.
Cry. Curl up in a ball and cry.
Cry. You have to let it out. You have to show real emotion. You are human.
Yeah.
You know, my perspective on it is pretty similar to the pastor or whatever he was, the priest. I look at it like, first of all, there is no death. There's just transitioning with eternal beings. But for me, I start with the realization that every insect, imagine every insect that's ever been on this planet, in infinite amount, every single one of them have came and transitioned. Every animal, every bird, every human before us, every tree, every leaf, every blade of grass, every baby from the past, over and over and over. So it's the natural flow.
Yeah.
It's nothing wrong, nothing bad. It's the flow of life. Now, I also look and go, okay, most people, when someone passes, transitions, one of the things that really gets them, that causes the pain and the resistance, it's that they feel like it's not fair. Like there's been some wrongdoing, injustice. My grandmother died, injustice. My uncle died, injustice. My parent died. My nephew died, injustice. But I look at it like this. There are just as many people that have come into the world for a day than have been 99 years. There's just as many have been here for months, a couple of months, then have lived 80 years. There's just as many that have lived 20 years and gone. So if you've had someone in your life that you've been able to experience for, let's say, 10 years, you are killing the game. You are ahead of the game. If you got them for 15 years, about it, celebrate. 20, 30, 40. So that perspective helps me to put everything in alignment. It makes me go to gratitude and appreciation.
For every bit.
For every
all
bit.
The time.
My nephew, you know what? What was it, 30?
29.
29? I'm grateful I got 29 because I could have had one. I could have had 3. See what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
So it takes us away from that injustice, and then go into a place of gratitude instead. And the beautiful thing about that is when you do that and go to a place of gratitude, that's when you become high vibration and you're able to connect to
with them. Yeah.
My grandmother passed, and we used to have these conversations. She was a hardcore Christian, and I was always spiritual. And she would always try to recruit me to Christianity. We'd have great debates, and I'd try to show her my perspective, and she loved it. She was great. And one day when she was passing, around that time before she was passing, she was in a hospital, and I went and visited her in New York, and we made an agreement. There was a lady next to us in the bed next to us, and that lady expired right in front of us. And my grandmother knows that her time was coming, a matter of a month maybe. And they came in and they took the lady out the room, made the bed back up like nothing happened. And we're sitting there watching the whole thing. It was really awkward.
Yeah.
And I turned to her and I said, let's make a deal. We had all these conversations that we've had about spirituality and life, but here's the agreement. There's no guarantee that you'll go before me. I could leave this hospital today and get hit by a bus. Anything can happen. Mm-hmm. Or you can leave before me. But let's make an agreement. Whoever leaves first, the other person will come back and contact us to let me know. If it's me, let me know that everything's okay and that there's more. And if I go first, I'm going to come back and contact you and let you know. And she got excited. She's like, let's do it. Agreed. Good. So I was walking out the hospital and I left when I was coming back to California. But as I was walking out the hospital down the hallway, I felt somebody watching me. So I turned around and it was my grandmother. She had gotten out the bed with all the stuff that she was holding and the wires and all cables. And she was in the doorway just watching me. And I realized that at that moment that she was watching me because she knew that was the last time she was going to see me.
Wow.
And I didn't want to turn around and look because I realized it was just her moment. That's how she wanted to remember me. So she passed. And at her funeral, I was excited because I knew she was free. And I knew she was no longer in pain. I was literally excited. And everybody else was crying. My family kept coming up to me going, why are you trying to play tough? It's okay to cry. It's okay to, I'm like, no, I'm not trying to cry. There's nothing to cry about. I'm happy for it. Yeah.
We had an agreement.
Yeah. They didn't get it. Yeah. And so they're bawling. I'm like, whatever. So I'm just literally looking in the front row, looking at the casket and just smiling. Just like literally just excited. And my mother was on me and she was laying on me like this. And I was holding her next to me and she was crying, just bawling. And at one point, my mother had her hand on my head like this while she was crying. And it was cool. It was like, okay, I got it. She just wants to hold it there. But after a while, my neck started to hurt. And so I was like, I didn't want to be like, okay, get off me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to move it really slow, just a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. It took me literally about 3 minutes before I got it completely up. And when I looked over, my mother was on the other side of the bench crying on my sister's shoulder. She had been there the entire time. Wow. That was my grandmother that was touching me. At that point, I just bawled. I was just like, oh, God. I just started bawling. And everybody's like, finally, trying to play tough. And it was like,
it was probably like, finally.
Yeah, I was like, no, it's not those kind of tears. I'm excited. She had her hand on my head. I know what a big ass, heavy ass hand feels like. That was a hand on my head. She contacted me. I was just ecstatic. And I've had many experiences since then, but what happened? What happened was because I was in high vibration, gratitude and appreciation. When people leave their physical body, they automatically go to high vibration. We were able to connect. She couldn't connect with anybody else because everybody else was sad and crying. It's not a match. And so that's the key. High vibration, gratitude and appreciation, and you will connect.
Yeah. I'll share this with you. When my nephew passed away, my sister asked me to do the eulogy. Anthony and I did the eulogy for him. And before I did the eulogy, I did some meditations and I was like, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to talk about? And the message came through super clear. He said, tell people to focus on their heart and a happy thought and I'll connect with them. I was like, okay. So we're doing the eulogy. And so I asked everyone at the service I was like, okay, this is gonna be a very different service than you're used to, because our family's spiritual, and we believe energy never dies. And I connected with Dave, and he asked me to do this exercise with you guys. I'm doing exercises at a funeral. Such a life coach. So I said, I want everybody to put your hand on your heart, focus on your heart, close your eyes, and think of your best time with him. And he says he's going to come to you and you'll feel him. And then we did that. And then I was like, okay. Then we went on with the rest of the service. After the service, there was a line. And people were like, that thing you did, I felt him. I felt him. Like, I never heard of that before. I didn't know that was possible. And so people, we don't know how we operate as spirits, energy, or human beings. So we have all these beliefs that are not necessarily true. And so we can connect when we focus on our love and our appreciation for them and move ourselves to high vibration. And so I also always think this, Franchesca, what if there was no death? Do you think people would live their best lives? Do you think they would try? Do you think they would do anything? We would take everything for granted. Mm-hmm. So I believe transitioning helps us remind us, this is not forever. You better do what you came to do. You better love with everything you are. I feel like when people die, it's a reminder to love. Remember to love more, love harder, say it, show up for people, because this is not forever. And it's just a reminder. And I think we need that reminder. Where would we be without it?
Every experience eventually expires.
Yes.
Every experience.
100%. Tip for your viewers, anyone struggling with grieving or loss, there's a book called Journey of Souls that I have given to so many people who are experiencing grieving and loss. And there's lots of books about life after death and what people have experienced who have died and then come back. And they all tell the same story. And just like anything else in your life, if something's bothering you, research it, learn about it. Don't run from it, go into it. Go into it 100% until you understand it completely, because understanding helps us change our perspective, which changes our emotions, which changes our energy, which changes our lives.
And not researching and not understanding those feelings is what causes the negativity and what causes depression and what causes the sadness, because you don't understand what you're going through. You don't understand that emotion. And when you don't understand something, we automatically think it's bad.
Yes, yeah. 100%.
You got it.
100%, honey.
So I'm excited for my viewers, honestly, and for your viewers, because I'm pretty sure that your viewers are going to watch this as well. I'm excited for them because I understand the power of words and the power of our connection and our power and just the power of their connection with us. Because by them tuning in and by them listening and by them watching, whichever way that they're tuning in, I know that we are changing lives. I'm a true believer that these conversations aren't just going into an archive. I truly believe, and it might not even be today, it might not be tomorrow, it could be in 5 years. I guarantee someone's gonna reach out to us and say, oh my God, you helped me. Or I was thinking about doing this, and one of your talks and just your energy and the way you said something just triggered me in a good way.
In a good way, yes.
You talked about trigger.
Yes.
Triggered me in a good way. And that's exactly what I want to portray with all of my talks. And I'll never bring anyone on to share a story that's not going to impact you.
Yeah.
The viewer. Everything that I'm going to do, even if it's just me chatting for a few minutes, I'm going to make sure that it's potent. Yes. And it's coming from a source of the entire heart, not just because I want to kind of talk about this. No, I understand that people quietly suffer.
Yes.
I understand that there's people that don't think that they're in depression, or they do know, but they don't want the world to know. So they put on the fake happy face, which I tend to almost always see. Which is why I thought it was so important for us to do this talk, because I'm not the depression whisperer.
Yeah.
But I can definitely point it out. I personally think that I can see in some folks.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's not depression. Sometimes you're just having a bad day. And it's not that serious.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you've got plenty of people to tap into, like
Yeah.
Kevin Hines, the gentleman that attempted suicide. He
Mhm.
stops people in the street. It's
Mhm.
like literally like that's why I'm so big on smiling. Like I
Mhm.
get mad if people don't smile back. Like I've
Yeah.
said so many times, like if I smile at you if I say good morning and you don't reply to me, it pisses me off. Like,
Yeah.
sir, I'm being nice.
Yeah. I'm making myself vulnerable.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm being nice to you. You don't want to be nice back to me. But again, they might just be having a bad day. But hopefully, even if they don't reply, I hope that eventually their day turns over. So,
or maybe they have a mask on. You just couldn't tell they were smiling.
no, you can smize.
You can see your eyes. Your eyes smile.
See the eyes. It's like there's like an arch. There's
Yeah.
You know what? I'm the same way too. And I've had to actually push myself to be friendlier because, as you know, in New York, Brooklyn, you're taught the opposite. It's like, don't talk to me. You don't know me. Don't look at me. You don't know me.
Don't smile at me.
Smile at me.
A bit like that. Because if you approach me and I'm just like, hey, 6 feet, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what your intention is. Like I still got a little bit of that in me, but you can break down the wall if you're
right. And so I have to make an effort. I started making an effort to do that, to speak to people or to smile. Even smiling, people used to always say, why aren't you smiling? I'm like, I'm happy in the inside, I'm smiling, but I'm not smiling on the outside because in New York and growing up again,
it's just natural.
You don't walk around smiling. You got to have that, what is that? The rest in bitch face, rest in
RBF.
RDF, rest in dick face, And so always got to look, mad. And I've been doing it for so long that I didn't know how to smile.
Yeah.
And I had a friend who was kind of working, she was like kind of doing a little marketing for us. She was like, Anthony, you got to smile in your pictures. I'm like, I don't even smile. She's like, look at these pictures.
There's like, no teeth.
No teeth. So I had to practice smiling. So now even like when people like take photos and they smile, I got to use my hands to go like this. Although I can't do it.
Remind you.
It helps me to
bring it up.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Smile. Yeah. And when people don't smile back or say hello, at first it gets like, then it's like, you know what? Don't let them stop me from doing that. Maybe they're in a bad mood. They're out of alignment. Whatever the story was, don't let it affect me. Keep doing it. Keep smiling. Keep speaking to people.
I always do this. If they don't smile back, I say, bless you. Because I'm blessing you with my smile and you just can't bless me back. Yeah. So I'm gonna give you another blessing. You just don't have it to give today. It's okay, but I'm still giving mine.
Yeah. Well, I'm overjoyed.
Yay.
By the
that we're so proud of you.
Yes, very proud of you.
You're welcome.
And I'm extremely grateful. Again, I'll be forever grateful for the both of you. You guys have changed my perspective on so many levels that you have absolutely no idea. I mean, you kind of have an idea because I can't shut up about you.
We love you.
And I just know that you guys are making a dent on this world, which is why I continuously bug you to please be on my show, because I know that your perspective counts. And I know that together we can make a bigger dent.
Yes.
So the more 100%. People we can tap into, the more perspectives we can bring onto these calls. I'm for it. And if you guys have recommendations of folks you want to bring on, I'm game. Because again,
it's beautiful.
I don't want to be me. And listen to me. I saw the recording from the first episode and I literally wanted to like delete it. Because all I saw was my eyes and this and that and that. So I'm a little excited that I've got Anthony on because I'm not the only one that does on and says New York. You know what I'm saying? Like
New York.
The awe in my word. So I'm like, it's not just gonna be me.
Do you know how sexy that is and how those of us that don't have it, how much we love it? It is the sexy sauce.
I embrace it, but sometimes I hear myself back and I'm just like,
No, I love listening. I love your voice.
I
love listening to you talk. I'll tell you a secret.
It makes me feel like at home again. It's like,
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, thank you, Anthony. You said yes. I'm like, yes.
Francesca, when I met
Nice.
Anthony, I always say that one of the reasons we got along so good was I said yes to everything because I couldn't understand a damn word he was saying.
How funny is that though? How funny.
Loved it. I was like, he's so cool. He has such a cool accent. Yes. Okay. Yes.
He
Yes.
probably asked you to marry him the first day and you were like, yes.
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 What did he say? So I love it. Embrace it.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. I try
You're welcome.
really, really hard to embrace it. And I do love my accent. I love that I don't change for anyone. You're
Good.
gonna get what you're, you know, what
Yep.
you see. I'm not
There
you
I'm
go.
not gonna put on a suit just to do these talks. I put a little bit of makeup on because like I said, I haven't left home since March. So I need a little bit of color.
Yes. Got you. Yes.
But you
Beautiful.
know, just closing it all in. If you are suffering from depression, if you do need help, you've got the resources. Just reach out to someone. Reach out to us. If you've got, if you just want to vent, if you just want to talk to us. We're definitely available. This is our goal is to help as many people as we can. So take advantage of that. And
Yes.
if you are attempting or contemplating or thinking about offing yourself or committing suicide, please don't.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. It really is not worth it. I hope that there was something in that we said that probably could have changed your mind. It really is not worth it. You are needed in this world. And if you do want to speak to a professional in regards to your suicide, you can text HOME, HOME, to 741-741, and that's a 24/7 hotline that someone will reach back out to you if you need any help. There's also a hotline that you can speak to, 800-273-8255. So those are resources that you can tap into right now, as well as us. When I do post this recording, I will make sure that our contact information is on there, mainly Instagram, because it's these days that those are the yellow book. I always say that's the yellow book. It's the easiest way for you to reach us. But be safe, be happy, smile. Be that comfort for someone else. You just never know who's going through something. So with that being said, I'll say thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you all. Thank you to my viewers. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Anthony, for always carving out the time for little old me.
Of course.
We appreciate you. We love and appreciate you.
Yes, we do.
Well, thank you. And we'll be back soon. I mean, this is just the beginning. We will change hundreds of thousands of lives with these talks. So good night.
Yes, ma'am.
Good night.
Good night.
Don't forget to smile.
Yes, smile.
Yeah, that helps.
You gotta do the gesture.
Yes.